Good morning and welcome to today's session of Moments with Clara. Yesterday we introduced the topic of when grief returns, it often returns with a vengeance. Today we're going to talk about why that happens. Most often grief returns again with a really hard-hit vengeance around year 2. And I found that to be true almost universally with parents of child loss. And the reason I believe that this happens is because the first year is spent entirely in kind of a fog. In fact, in my book, Child Loss, the Heartbreak and the Hope, I talk about this as being the foggy abyss. It's a place where we can go for just shelter from the storm of child loss. We remain in a fog for a long time because it's just too much for our minds to process. We can't combine the emotions of mind and heart together to understand the full impact that our child truly is gone. The trauma is just too much. So around year 2 or shortly thereafter, we get hit with another huge wave of grief. And this time, when this wave of grief washes over us, it's to tell us to just kind of our minds and our bodies, our hearts are all in conjunction together, and we're finally realizing this is true. This is real. This did happen. And once again, the trauma is just immense. And we get hit with this raw grief that can last for months this time. And once we begin working our way daily through this new wave of grief, we have a reprieve for a while. We have softer grief for maybe 2-3 years. And then I'm finding that it's around year 5 that the grief hits again, and it hits in a massive way. And I do believe that that's because at this point in our grief walk, we understand completely, yes, it's true, my child is not coming back. Now, tomorrow, when we talk in another moment with Clara, we're going to talk a little deeper about this, and we're going to offer 2 suggestions that can help us to understand this more fully and help us walk through some of this really, really hard grief that comes along in year 2, year 5, year 10. And often others don't recognize this as being part of our grief walk, but it's very real, it's very true. Grief does return, and when it returns, it really hits hard. Parents are not making this up. It's not that they're stuck in grief. It's just that this is how grief affects us. So I hope today brings you a little bit deeper understanding of grief, of the many faces of grief, and grief does have many faces. And tomorrow we'll talk more in depth about this and offer 2 very helpful suggestions for getting us through this deep, deep return of grief. For today, I hope that you will have a softer day in your grief. I hope that your grief walk will allow you to get outside for a bit, breathe some fresh air, and soak up some of nature's vitamin D from the sunshine if the sun is shining in your area. And I will be back again tomorrow with another brief moment with Clara.